the threshold that changes reality. What you think is emptiness is actually power. You feel it, don't you? That feeling of disconnection expanding inside you, which you can't quite understand. The fact that what used to respond in terms of size no longer works the same way. You use the same phrases, choose the same gratitude lists, make the same effort to stay positive, and sometimes even manage to say, everything is okay. But still, there's something inexplicable beneath all of this. Let's be clear. This isn't because you're stuck in a pattern or broken. It's not the patterns that have failed, or the people who use them. Rather, it's a sign that the system is no longer carrying you with its old tools. In psychology, this is called the threshold state, the moment when the brain can no longer make sense with old patterns, but hasn't yet formed a new one. Carl Jung experienced this situation as the dark night of the soul. There's a similar situation in physics. A system enters a state of instability and produces chaos before establishing a new order. So the issue isn't the number of things they experience, but a pause before restructuring. It's no coincidence that this video reached its current size, because the human mind wasn't ready yet. We learn this very clearly in neuroscience. The brain ignores things it can't perceive. But if an idea, a sentence, a sound feels familiar to you, it means it's not new. It already exists within you. This feeling of recognition, this is a silent signal in the dimension of your system. Now let's move on to an important celebration. The understanding of gratitude you've been taught so far has been mostly mental. I should be grateful. It could have been worse. I should think positively. But the problem is, the mind can be persuaded, the body cannot. Neurologist Antonio Damasio has a very clear problem. Human decisions stem not from thoughts, but from the signals of events. So, while you are mentally developing gratitude, if someone else is in threat mode, unlike you, be realistic when listening to the impact. That's why many people practice gratitude, but no change, no real transformation occurs. Because gratitude is not a thought. It is not a sentence in any way. Gratitude is a state of choice. Like fear in children. You don't think about fear, you see it. And your frequency. There is a very simple principle in quantum physics. The system responds to the transmitted signal, not intentionally. Think of it like a radio station. It's not what you want to play that matters, but what frequency you are on. The same is true for consciousness. Most people try to be grateful when they don't have something. I don't have it yet, but I'm grateful that I will have it. This is the subconscious. I don't have it yet. And the system reflects this. This is where what's called emptiness comes in. In fact, this is the moment when these established old forms begin to dissolve. Something within us begins to become inconsistent. Things that once had no purpose become commonplace. Conversations feel superficial. Routines become stifling. This isn't a malfunction. This is a gradual dissolution. In films, this is often unnoticed. But this is exactly what Neo experiences in The Matrix. Everything works, but something feels wrong. This is the beginning of knowledge, not development. True gratitude begins right here, not in the mind, but in the body. At a moment when your heart rate slows, when you see your shoulders involuntarily relax, the nervous system's message, "I am safe now," is interrupted in these quiet moments. Science measures this. When heart rate variability increases, that is, when the body relaxes, perception expands. Creativity increases. connections strengthen. So gratitude is actually a permission given to the body. There is no longer a need to be on the defensive. When this permission is given, what is in your center emerges. And in some cases, this is the only way for new realities to enter. Now realize this. What is truly transformative in your life is understanding, not forcing. It is the moments when you let go. It is the moments when you stop trying to control something. It is the moments when you stop forcing a reaction. When you stop feeling the need to absolutely do something. In these moments, the system realigns. Therefore, what you are experiencing right now is not a trap, but a preparation. The old tools of consciousness are dissolving. The new one has not yet fully taken shape. And this void is where people fear most, but also where they are most powerful. This video, by itself, shows nothing. Its size sells nothing. It simply reminds you. What you perceive as emptiness is where the breath of consciousness resides. And if you are here, you can no longer go back to the old frequency, because you have realized this. Emotional detachment is not a malfunction. It's the consciousness's alarm system. It's consistent with current norms. You see this feeling, don't you? A subtle but persistent form in your chest, difficult to describe. It's as if you can say things, even form the right sentences. You describe distributing gratitude, receiving information, but there's no real response to all of this. You have words, but they don't exist. You have intentions, but you lack vitality. That's what emotional detachment is. And no, it's not numbness. It's not neglect either. It's a frequency mismatch between your hidden mind and body. Modern psychology has been studying this for a long time. Trauma researcher Bessel van der Kolk puts it very clearly. The body can remain in the past long after it has been mentally convinced. So, while you're mentally in a state of, I must be okay, I must be grateful, I must think positively, your body might be in survival mode. And when the body is in survival mode, it can't expand. It can't feel gratitude. It can't form deep connections. Therefore, emotional detachment isn't a character flaw. It's an informational message from your system. Your nervous system is saying you're still true to yourself. And this sentence is far more important than most people realize. Because when the nervous system feels safe, the frontal lobes of the brain, the areas for making sense, connecting, and imagining the future, are pushed into the background. Instead, older, more primitive circuits kick in. Fight, flight, freeze, or completely shut down. We see this very clearly in everyday life. Sometimes someone gives you good news, but you can't rejoice. Sometimes a success isn't achieved, but it doesn't resonate with you internally. Sometimes you play the everything's going well game, but you don't believe it. That's when emotional detachment manifests itself. In films, this is often depicted as coldness, but it's not actually coldness. It's a way for an overloaded system to protect itself. Remember Cooper's detachment in space in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar? Messages arrive as time progresses, but the emotional connection is delayed because the system isn't ready yet. The information is there, but the echo is missing. The same is true for human consciousness. Most people say that the practice of gratitude doesn't work. They write lists, they repeat sentences, but then comes the sentence, I have nothing. The initial problem isn't gratitude. The problem is that gratitude is being practiced at the wrong level. Gratitude isn't a thought. It's not a duty in any way. Gratitude is a state of proportion. It's a state where your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, and your muscles relax imperceptibly. And this state doesn't result from force. There's a very simple but brutal truth in quantum physics. The system reacts not to what is said, but to the state being emitted. Your electromagnetic field is far stronger than the words you speak. And when you experience emotional detachment, this field collapses. The mind speaks, but the field is silent. Therefore, no matter how hard you try, the values of your gratitude can become even heavier in your chest, because the body perceives this tension as a threat. Herein lies a crucial misunderstanding. People interpret this as a personal failure. I haven't worked on myself enough. I haven't developed enough. I need to be more disciplined. But reality is far more flexible. Emotional detachment is not resistance to transformation. The need for adaptation precedes transformation. Your nervous system hasn't yet adjusted to the new frequency. Like a person entering a new environment. First they look, they listen, they evaluate everything. Then they open up. Awareness is like that too. It deepens not through force, but through a sense of security. Carl Rogers says that a person can only change when they can protect themselves. That is, settling in through space, not through binding or pressure. Therefore, recognizing emotional detachment is not the end of the process. It is the beginning. At this age, it says, there is only one person here. Where there is continuity, there is no need to rush. It is there. It is resting. The body's presence is being allowed. What you haven't disconnected from is actually the gateway to a deeper connection, because the body has finally begun to emerge. And when you listen to it, instead of silencing it, true transformation happens when you find a solution. So ask yourself, what should I feel? No. Didn't my body need anything until now? The answer is there. The invisible chasm between mental and physical appreciation. Most people's relationship with appreciation is a skill they learn unconsciously. They list things in their minds they should be grateful for, catalog the good things they choose, try to remember positive events, sometimes fill their notebooks with lists, and try to convince themselves to feel culturally grateful. From this perspective, it seems correct, even realistic at first glance. However, upon closer examination, a very fundamental distinction is overlooked. This is visionary appreciation. Mental appreciation exists at the thought level, lives in language, takes shape logically, and usually begins with the phrase, "This is how I should feel." However, it has almost no real interaction with the quantum field, because the quantum field works through transmission, not through thought. A simple analogy suffices to support this. Mental appreciation is like shining a flashlight into a dark spot from afar. Physical appreciation, on the other hand, is like being the light itself. This distinction is not metaphorical. It's a mechanical process. As neuroscientist Antonio Damasio said, emotions are formed in the body. The mind can only perceive them later. In other words, you only pay the price in terms of cost. The body doesn't completely change unless you're constantly interacting with it. Mental appreciation activates the brain's repetitive cycles. It produces the same memories, the same sentences, the same inner monologues. This way, you constantly say, practice gratitude, but nothing is permanent, because the system operates at the same frequency. But bodily appreciation is an extraordinary expression. bodily appreciation begins. Initially, it's difficult to perceive a difference in the heart region, but a real softening occurs. Breathing deepens. Shoulders droop slightly. The nervous system shifts out of threat mode, and the body begins to signal, "I am safe now." This is where resonance occurs. That's why some people experience a profound transformation in their lives within a few weeks, while others remain stagnant for a long time. One group mentally lists the blessings they possess. The other group moves on to developing a blessed version. We see this difference very clearly in daily life. Two people say the same sentence, "I am grateful for everything in my life." But when one says it, their chest tightens, their voice becomes tense, and they feel a fear of getting lost within. When the other says the same sentence, a calm expression is felt around them. There is a softness in their gaze. The quantum field does not perceive these two sentences as the same, because the field reads the results, not the language. In physics, this is very clear. What is in the current state of a system is what it emits, not what is said. The electromagnetic signature works independently of the content. Therefore, even if an object lists its blessings, including the option of scarcity, the field reacts to scarcity. Gratitude is based on fear. Fear is added. Appreciation born of lack reinforces that lack. That's why people say, "I'm grateful for everything, but I constantly feel uneasy, as if I'm about to lose something." This is similar to repainting a cracked, flexible cooler. The visual performance, the structure remains the same. You expressed your gratitude while your nervous system was constricted. The constrained state is the space, not the words expressing gratitude, and a timeline is drawn that keeps you in that constrained version of yourself. Here's a crucial truth. The reality that takes shape is not your intention. It's not observational. Quantum theory cannot grasp the level of theoretical thought. It happens at the level of materialization. This space reflects what you actually communicate, not what you're trying to feel. This difference can be unsettling at first, but it's actually incredibly liberating, because it doesn't mean, "I need to push harder." It tells you to stop forcing things, to stop trying to change things. Appreciation is not an emotion to be produced. Appreciation is a state that allows for its distribution. As Viktor Frankl said, "Some things run away from you when you chase them, but they return when the right conditions are provided." Bodily appreciation is like that too. It shuts down when forced. It opens when space is given. These understandings come into play, and today, as long as you live, the timelines begin to shift. Because you no longer see appreciation as a chore. You adapt to everything, and adaptation begins. True, sensitive practices begin. 3 silent signs of frequency: disharmony, the hidden language of time, emotion, and body. If you've had something unresolved inside you for a long time, it usually manifests itself not with a sudden outburst, but in a much more subtle way. You wake up one morning and everything is technically in its place. Days pass, tasks are completed, life goes on. But there's a strange void in nature. You seem to be progressing, but there's no real sense of progress. This is where the first sign of your frequency disharmony appears, a distortion in your perception of time. We might call this temporal fluctuation. Days begin to stretch strangely. Hours pass, but nothing moves forward. An hour feels like a test of your emotional resilience. Movement continues, but you're not communicating. This isn't laziness. This isn't avoidance. This is certainly not a lack of willpower. As neurologist Bruce Lipton said, your body works not with your intentions, but with how you perceive the environment. Therefore, when your inner harmony and your external goal vibrate in different directions, you achieve fluidity at will. Instead of timelines opening up forward, they begin to continue in their own cycles. We experience this very clearly in daily life. The same problems are presented to you again and again. Different people, similar scenes, familiar emotions. It's as if life is saying, look, the current situation isn't resolved, not move forward. This happens while your nervous system is held in place and contracted, while your consciousness tries to expand properly. This disharmony creates temporal resistance. The time dimension is not the opposite. It doesn't slow you down. You are simply reflecting what is real. Recognizing this conflict is not a regression. If you completely change it, it's a sign that this area doesn't want to demand performance from you. The moment understanding descends into the body, time begins to flow again. The second is more emotional, but just as clear as the first. It points to an emotional rebound. You try to put it on. For a brief moment, you feel a slight warmth inside, perhaps relief, perhaps a little hope. But after a few minutes, it dissipates. It is replaced by anxiety, emptiness, or tension. This is not a failure. This is physics. This rebound occurs when your mind tries to produce a frequency that your body cannot sustain. They will be deprived of a few seconds of happiness. But if your nervous system continues to operate with a sense of threat, it cannot remain stable at that frequency. Like being pulled down again immediately after a high mood swing, or like taking a deep breath and relaxing, the tension returns after a few minutes. We see this often in movie scenes. A character experiences enlightenment, becomes hopeful, then reality pulls them back to their old self. Because the inner structure hasn't changed. Emotional feedback is actually very valuable information. The field is telling you, I perceive the message, but I don't yet trust this signal. Most people misinterpret this. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not spiritually adequate. There's something wrong with me. But the truth is much more. This feedback shows the point where appreciation should be held not only in thoughts, but also in the body. When you feel safe in your body, the frequency increases, and there is no longer any feedback. Appreciation doesn't disappear. It begins to accumulate. The third sign is more subtle but undeniable. Energetic feedback. When you intend to appreciate, you may feel a slight relaxation in your chest, a knot in your throat, a weight in your stomach, an inner withdrawal. This is your body's way of speaking. I'm not ready to work with this image yet. This doesn't mean you don't appreciate. This means your system hasn't yet developed the capacity to handle true appreciation. If your nervous system is in survival mode, gentleness feels like a threat. Expansion feels alien. Relaxation is perceived as a loss of control. Therefore, some people experience restlessness, not peace, during appreciation exercises. Journalization feels artificial. Affirmations feel insincere. While the mind reaches upwards, the body continues to twitch. This resistance is not an obstacle. It is a guidance system. Dimension is precisely where trust, sensitivity, and regulation manifest. Everything changes when you read resistance not as a mistake, but as information. Because there, the moment release is allowed, harmony begins. And appreciation ceases to be a burden. It becomes natural, even a pleasure. True transformation begins right here. Appreciation is not an emotion. The silent power of a frequency you generate. Most people perceive appreciation as a reward from the outside world. They see it as a fleeting emotion, a pleasant feeling, or a temporary relief that arises when life offers them a good reason. They feel gratitude when things go well, and it happens when things go wrong. But this definition is superficial enough to distort the true nature of appreciation. Appreciation is not an emotion. It is a frequency you generate. It is a vote emanating from your field before your mind labels it as an emotion. And when this is temporarily earned, the entire mechanics of appreciation fundamentally change. Emotions are temporary. They are reactive. They can be hidden from the outside. They exist today, but not tomorrow. But frequencies are a meeting point. They are permanent. They are creative. And in most cases, it's a matter of redistribution of circumstances. This is precisely why many people, despite practicing gratitude, quickly revert to their old habits. Because they're trying to generate emotion, but aren't adjusting the components. They're waiting for proof. They want it even before life begins. But frequency-based ratio doesn't require proof. It exists even in uncertainty. It has temporary changes. It persists even amidst difficulties. The irony is, gratitude that waits for proof is weak, whereas gratitude that doesn't require proof becomes proof in itself. The question you should now ask is not, what am I grateful for? The real question is, what sound am I making right now? Clear frequency precedes emotion. Emotion is the natural result of leakage. That's why some people write gratitude lists every day, but experience no change in their lives. Instead of creating consistency, they wait for it. Think of it with a musical instrument. No matter how badly you tune a guitar, the resulting sound won't be pleasant. But when the guitar is properly tuned, even a single note fills the entire room. It creates resonance. There's no need to force it. Your nervous system works exactly the same way. You can adjust your space to pressure values, and a feeling of appreciation arises. This doesn't come from forcing it, but from your system adapting to that choice. Neurologists and physiologists have been saying for years, the body responds to signals, not words. The mind can intend, plan, create, produce. But if the nervous system is safe, no frequency is permanent. That's why some people, even when they are peaceful, begin to appreciate things when they are restless. They feel a relief in their chest. Their breaths become shorter. They experience an uncomfortable withdrawal within themselves. This isn't a failure. This is feedback that aligns with the arrangements. I'm not ready to carry this pollution yet. We often see this in film scenes. A character experiences a moment of renewal. Everything seems to have changed, but soon, old fears and reflexes return, because the internal system hasn't yet been reorganized. True transformation begins not in thought, but in regulation. With the softening of the chest, with the relaxation of the diaphragm, with the slowing of breathing, with the deactivation of survival mode. When the body relaxes even by 1%, harmony begins to activate. And at this moment, appreciation ceases to be a mental idea. It transforms into a physiological reality. The heart, mind, and nervous system begin to vibrate in a single direction. Change occurs here. It begins to emit rhythmic, measured, and readable signals. The brain's analytical processing speed slows down. Breathing deepens without the effort of staying home. The industrial structure abandons defense and becomes a device. This is the moment when the thought of appreciation transforms into a lost frequency signature, a signature that quantum mechanics can recognize, match, and reflect back. Some spiritual teachings use the metaphor of a door. Harmony is that door, the bridge between intention and manifestation, the transition between desire and manifestation, the difference between something being a dilemma and it actually impacting your life. Without harmony, it's just mental noise. With harmony, appreciation is the transformation into a reflected wave that mirrors your entire timeline. But for this reason, it's not possible to feel the subject more strongly. It's not about forcing yourself to be better. It's about allowing your system to feel safe enough to expand. Appreciation already exists. You don't need to create it. You just need to attune to it. And when harmony begins, appreciation no longer requires effort. It becomes natural. It calms down. It becomes permanent. If what I've said resonates with you, all you need to do is like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring together. Because how fate chooses your timeline, the frequency that collapses, not attracts, reality. One of the greatest misconceptions of modern man is the idea that reality is linear. That is, the belief that what we experience today is merely the result of our past decisions and that the future is yet to be shaped. However, differences at the quantum level show that there is not just one version of life. Right now, in this moment, countless versions of you exist simultaneously. Many are calm, supported, and flow with life without conflict. Many are constantly striving, trying to prove themselves, and always one step behind. And another accepts everything as it is, without resistance, and therefore moves forward. Fate shows which of these versions is the broadest reality. A significant synthesis of this information is necessary. Fate doesn't just influence your reality. Fate is how you choose your reality. There is a concept frequently used in quantum physics: collapse. A possibility transforms into a specific form the moment it is observed. But this observation doesn't happen through a mental thought. It happens through a collapse in frequency. That's why quantum mechanics doesn't work with the language of attraction. Attraction implies distance, time, and waiting. It's as if something is getting help from you and eventually comes to you. But you don't draw a timeline at the quantum level. You become a timeline that already exists. That's where appreciation comes in. This isn't a reward. This isn't a virtue. This isn't a sign of being a good person. Appreciation was the signal the universe sent. Activate my version that matches this frequency. And within these, even for a single moment, true appreciations are recorded. The field is recorded in this way. That's when synchronicities begin. People begin to behave differently in different dimensions. Opportunities seem closer. Some doors open as if they were always there. Actually, nothing new happens. You simply shift to another reality. We see this scene often in films. A character experiences a moment. The perspective changes. And even though the world seems to remain the same, everything begins to feel different. This isn't a cinematographic exaggeration. It's a neurophysiological shift. But there's a critical pitfall here. The feeling of appreciation doesn't rise in your timeline at the onset of deficiencies. Therefore, the present situation is reinforced. Because the field reads the original signature at the end, not the words. If you say, "I'm grateful," while you're tense with fear, the field embraces the tension, not the gratitude. If you express gratitude, While fear is present, the periods of collapse choose fear timelines. But that's why some people say, "I'm grateful, but nothing changes." This isn't a failure. This is a delicate law of physics. The universe doesn't judge your efforts. It doesn't judge your intentions either. You only reflect your qualities. Appreciation stemming from fear activates a version of fear. Appreciation stemming from stress affects the stress timeline. Appreciation, done with the energy of "I hope it works," chooses the version where nothing changes. The big misconception here is, people think their words are enough. They believe that when affirmations are repeated, when lists are written, the reality of the affirmation will change. But the quantum field responds to quantities, not mental rituals. If the nervous system isn't secure, the words remain on the surface. A completely different signal is emitted in the underlying layer. Therefore, appreciation is not a performance. There is no checklist. It is certainly not a spiritual task either. Appreciation is a state of breadth and expansion that cannot be replicated. And contrary to what most people think, true appreciation doesn't always feel joyful or exciting. Sometimes it comes as just a feeling of relief. Sometimes with shoulders slumped. Sometimes with a breath that deepens imperceptibly. Sometimes with a long stretch. These states are far more powerful in fostering positivity, because in these moments, the body says, "I am not threatened. I can expand." And this meaningful message actually shifts the timeline. It permanently establishes mental appreciation, but accumulation is productive. Mental appreciation becomes noticeable. Bodily appreciation becomes a higher frequency of production. The key to this transition, but often overlooked, is this. The body must feel safe before it can feel appreciation. When the nervous system is in survival mode, appreciation cannot be an experience. It becomes just a thought. Therefore, people experiencing anxiety, tension, and emotional detachment struggle to practice appreciation. They try to force a high-frequency state on a body that is not ready. But when the ratios balance out, 2 seconds of silence. The most powerful element of a true appreciation practice isn't recorded lists, journals, repetitions, or mental intentions. The real breaking point is the micro-perceptions that occur in your body, or are almost imperceptible in the first 2 seconds of the system. 2 seconds. Insignificant to the mind, meaningless to the calendar. But quantum conditions are concerned with its expression, because during those 2 seconds, your nervous system completes the response like this. Will I stay at the old frequency, or will I move to a new state? This isn't a mental decision. This is an annual choice. Neuroscience tells us the brain decides before stored thoughts. The body produces a response before the mind, and this response takes shape within milliseconds. This 2-second microshift is the threshold where your body decides whether to remain in its old capacity or open itself to a new possibility. This microshift isn't dramatic. Nobody dies. No one experiences an enlightenment. There's no major emotional outburst. So, of letting go. Shoulders drop, millimeter by millimeter. The jaw relaxes imperceptibly. The chest expands into the emptiness of the moment. That's it. But it's enough. Because this subtle signal tells the quantum field, I am shifting frequency. The field reads this signal, not the words. The field that facilitates this shift is not your brain. Most people miss this opportunity because they jump into mental gratification. They make lists. They try to remember. They convince themselves. but the quantum field responds not to thoughts, but to changes in the situation being experienced. In this way, a single gentle breath can have a far more powerful effect than a page filled with recorded lists of achievements. These two individuals are transitioning to this point, from rigidity to openness, from survival mode to receptiveness, from automatic response to selective preference. This is a moment we often encounter in film scenes, but fail to notice. The character pauses, takes a deep breath, and then does something different. These breaths are turning points in the script. Survival in real life is the same, but we see this moment as insignificant. However, in these micro changes, appreciation finally finds a space to settle, without forcing, without acting. This is a spiritual performance. The feeling of appreciation begins to emerge spontaneously, because the body can no longer suppress it. At this point, an important truth emerges. Appreciation requires no effort. Appreciation requires openness. Effort must be tense. Openness is relaxation. And when the nervous system is tense, it cannot sustain the existence of a new voice. Scientists call this a state shift. The same things are observed in meditation processes, trauma resolution, and even in sports performance. People experience great transformations, not by expending great effort, but by relaxing in small but opportune moments. That's why 2 seconds can be more powerful than an hour of journaling. 2 seconds are more effective than weeks of mental practice, because these two pieces are parts of a timeline, and another timeline is chosen. It's not a dramatic transition. It's quiet. It's subtle, but it's irreversible. And perhaps the most important question is, have you ever noticed this micro shift while practicing it yourself? You shift from one thought to another. Your breath is free for a moment. What changes in your body? At that moment, it becomes apparent that gratitude is now emerging through a mental exercise and transforming into a lived reality. Because timelines are changing, not with big decisions, but with these 2-second moments of silence. The vibrating staircase application. How does bodily appreciation occur? Bodily appreciation is not a randomly arising emotion. It follows a specific biological and neural sequence. When you disregard this sequence, appreciation remains in the mind. When you appreciate this sequence, appreciation transforms into a quantum signature. I call this progression the vibrating staircase, because true appreciation is achieved not by leaping upwards, but by taking steps. And this staircase has 3 fundamental steps that do not change a person: security, compassion, harmony. You cannot reverse this sequence. You cannot skip a step, because this is not a spiritual technique, but a biological reality. Step 1. Security. Everything begins with security. If your body protects itself, it cannot expand. A system that cannot expand cannot carry frequency. Contrary to what most people believe, security is not well-being, happiness, or a state where everything is all right. Security is simply this: there is no immediate threat. For the nervous system, this is enough. Neuroscience tells us you perceive the threat, but you cannot make sense of it. You cannot perceive beauty. You cannot feel appreciation. You are only focused on survival. Therefore, even a single breath, the imperceptible relaxation of the jaw, a drop of a few millimeters in the shoulders, sends the body this message: I am safe now. Without this small signal, the practice of appreciation becomes merely mental role-playing. Consider a scene from a movie. The character stops running, becomes visible, and realizes the danger has passed. That's when the story changes. Appreciation begins precisely like this, in the determination to escape. Step 2. Compassion. Once security is ensured and the body changes, the next step is taken: compassion. Kindness is not weakness. It's not about controlling the bicycle. It's never about fragility. Well-being is the continuation of the inner process. Like a muscle relaxing imperceptibly. Like a blockage in the visible armor of the heart. Like the breath changing naturally, not forcibly. Most people make mistakes at this stage. Allowing well-being leads directly to a sense of awareness. And then they say things like, "I'll participate, but I'll have to take responsibility for it." It feels forced. It's not sincere. Because without well-being, appreciation cannot touch the body. Like opening a part of a hard fist. Like the hand still remaining closed. Well-being is that microscopic moment when the lock of the heart is open. Even if it's only a fraction of a millimeter, a space is created where energy can move. Step 3. Harmony. After softness, the system naturally goes to sleep. Harmony is the point where appreciation is no longer sought, chased, or attempted to be produced. Appreciation develops and emerges here. The mind calms. The heart region is balanced. The nervous system stops defending. You are no longer summoning the emotion. You are receiving it. Harmony is the point where appreciation emerges as a thought at a selective frequency level. This is precisely where the price begins to reflect reality. Because now, the body, mind, and heart are broadcasting in the same direction. This is similar to an orchestra filling the hall with a single note after tuning. When there are separate voices, there is noise. When there is harmony, the music begins. K. A truth. The vibration ladder is not a technique. It is not a ritual. It is certainly not a do-it-right list. It is a journey your body already knows. You are climbing this ladder. You are not just creating obstacles. You shouldn't push yourself too hard, but you should allow yourself to move forward. Therefore, true appreciation is not an obstacle, but a disperser. It doesn't bring burdens. It removes them. It feels like a homecoming, not a chore. And the most amazing thing about this ladder is, once you've truly passed a step, you can't go back. Because when the body falls asleep, it no longer sees the old state of tension as normal. Appreciation is no longer a practice. It becomes a natural state. That's when the feeling of appreciation truly changes the flow of your time. The vibrational ladder, the biological pathway to bring appreciation down to the body. Most people experience appreciation as a thought. They say, "I should be grateful. I should thank you." But this solution often remains superficial, because true appreciation begins not in the mind, but in the body. If your body isn't ready, the emotion won't arise, no matter how much your mind wants it. That's why appreciation sometimes feels forced, artificial, or empty. This is where the executive ladder comes in. It's not a technique. It's not a belief system either. It's a natural component of the nervous system. Step 1. Security. Everything begins with security. If your body doesn't keep itself safe, any emotional expansion is impossible. Security doesn't mean happiness, comfort, or perfection. It simply means, I am not in danger right now. When the nervous system receives this message, it begins to move out of alarm mode. Sending this message doesn't require much effort. A single slow breath, a slight relaxation of the jaw, even a centimeter drop in the shoulders is enough. These small signals reach the brain via the vagus nerve and say, "You don't need to defend yourself." Appreciation is impossible without establishing a sense of security, because when there is a perceived threat, the brain focuses only on survival. Step 2. Softness. Once security is established, the body naturally softens. Softness is not weakness. It is certainly not surrender. It is a continuation of the internal process. Breath slowly expands. Rib folds open and close in microfolds. Unnecessary tension in the muscles relaxes. Many people skip this stage. They try to force it directly. Therefore, the feeling remains artificial. Without softness, appreciation cannot go beyond a mental idea. Step 3. Harmony. When softness occurs, the body and mind enter into the same rhythm. At this point, you no longer force the emotion. Appreciation emerges. The mind calms. The heart region is balanced. The emotion ceases to be a goal. It becomes a state. Instant appreciation is not just a feeling. It is a transformation into a measurable frequency shift in the neural range. In this way, true appreciation changes a person's perception. It affects their decisions, reactions, and even how they perceive things. 3 embodiment practices that bring appreciation to the body. Now let's move on to 3 simple but powerful practices that support this biological process. 1. 3 breath recalibration. This practice directly addresses the nervous system. First breath, let go. As you inhale, notice the tense points in your body: chest, abdomen, jaw, or shoulders. As you exhale, allow yourself to hold even 1% of your breath. There's no need for deep breathing zones. The goal is simply to convey this message: I trust the present moment. Second breath, descent. Breathe into your chest. Feel the breath settling into your body. This breath conveys the message: I am here. I am in my body. Many people only think of gratitude for taking this step. They don't feel it. Third breath, opening. As you inhale, allow your chest to heal very gently. As you exhale, imagine your heart softening. This moment began with the old color beginning to melt away. 3 breaths, 3 small changes, but a new balance for the nervous system. 2. Heart resonance. Touch. The feeling of gratitude has heart-related characteristics, but the heart doesn't understand the language of the mind. Touching the heart is understandable. Place your hand in the center of your chest, without pressing, without directing. The warmth of your palm reaches the nervous system directly. This contact soothes the vagus nerve, regulates the heart rhythm, and enables the device within the device to function. Then make very light, almost imperceptible circular movements. This is not a massage. This is a distant perspective. The goal is not to produce emotion. The goal is to create harmony. A warmth, a slight change, or a quiet sensation may occur. These are changes in the activation of the heart circuits. 3. Symbolic release ritual. The subconscious takes symbols seriously. Therefore, a physical gesture is far more powerful than mental intention. Take a small piece of paper. Write a single sentence. I am already in alignment with the timeline that includes this. This is not a wish. This is not a hope. This is a choice. Observe yourself as you break the sentence down. Every tension that arises is an attempt by old resistance to hold on. Now separate the torn pieces of paper. Exhale as you tear. This is not destruction. This is a symbolic continuity, showing the body that the old personality is complete. When the last piece falls, your system is ready for the new frequency. Your influence on the collective field. The power of silent resonance. Most people think that change is entirely personal. They assume that emotions begin and end within the individual. However, biology and social neurophysiology tell us this: no nervous system is isolated. Whether stimulated, consciously or unconsciously, it constantly exchanges data with the field. Your posture, your breath, your tone of voice, even your silence, produces a signal. This transmission is achieved through various reinforcements in the literature: social resonance, emotional contagion, simultaneous regulation. Some approaches can be seen through this morphic resonance aspect. The basic principle is this: as a system transitions to a more organized model, it becomes easier to store it elsewhere within the same system. The separation of appreciation from the personal appreciation in reality remains within the body, only within you. It is not displayed. It is not shown. It is not imitated. It is transmitted. Because your nervous system operates within a system of security, order, and harmony, this is perceived by other nervous systems around you, not consciously, reflexively. This causes people to feel more comfortable at home without even realizing it. The tone of conversations changes. The atmosphere feels lighter. This is not psychological persuasion. This is an interbodily harmony. The human brain, especially the nervous system, is extremely sensitive to perceiving a feeling of security. When you carry your sense of security, the backup system reduces it. Silent effect, deep effect. Every time a bodily appreciation occurs, it leaves a small but real trace in the collective field. This trace is security, openness, harmonious order. The effects are tangible in a person's experience of this combination, but with each repetition, this substance becomes more accessible. This is how collective change begins, not through what they eat, not through coercion, not through conflict in any way, with kindness, appreciation, compassion, existence, and harmony are signals that create lasting transformations in human consciousness. Why is kindness more powerful? Because frequencies of kindness do not pose a threat. We do not encounter resistance. They do not trigger defense mechanisms. Everything that spreads intensely is repelled somewhere, but what comes together reaches very far. Therefore, a chaotic average changes the environment of a single standard person. No one can fully explain what is happening, but everyone is there. Energy does not repel. It rearranges, becoming a frequency anchor. The real benefit of change is to regularly become an anchor in your body, in the collective field. Becoming an anchor means holding a point of stability where information aligns without knowledge. You create a bile effect without speaking, without access, teaching, or guidance. You have probably experienced this while doing it on your own. There are people who calm you when you can live there. They don't do anything special, but their presence is enough. Appreciation encompasses you or individuals. How does collective awakening happen? In today's global events, we are filled with major events, crises, or revolutions. But the deepest changes in human history have not been like this. True transformation begins with learning to regulate nervous systems, individual patterns of fear. Reactivity gives way to awareness. This is not something that will happen one day. This is happening right now, on your path. The embodiment of appreciation sent a small but clear message to the collective space. Safety is possible. Openness is possible. Harmony can be achieved without coercion. Final reminder: when you internalize the feeling of appreciation, You don't just shift to a personal timeline. You become a point of reference for that frequency, like a silent lighthouse, not ostentatious, but guiding with consistency. That is the deeper purpose of appreciation. Beyond feeling good, it's about transforming rooms, relationships, and realities, about becoming one. Now pause here for a moment. Notice your breath. Feel your body. And remember this: your existence affects a much larger area than you realize. Correcting your new timeline, the quantum mechanics of appreciation. Now, seize this moment. It exists within you, in the future. You feel it not just with your mind, but with your body. This is more than an intention. It's an energetic declaration. Write a single sentence in the comment section below. I have invested in my chosen timeline. This statement is not just a sentence you write. It's a pause, a quantum-level declaration that you are no longer content to live in the old story. In quantum mechanics, intention is as effective as an international action because it is the probability of probability. When you do this, you break a cycle, you end a habit, and the field receives your signal. Consider an experiment. When physicists measure the length of an electron in superposition, the electron occupies a specific place at a given moment. Similarly, the difference between your recorded behaviors and rates collapses the probability wave, allowing the new time shift to physically settle. And if more people do this together, this frequency strengthens in the collective consciousness. It's as if thousands of people are vibrating together, making micro-movements, creating a visible but impressive quantum surface network. Understanding that appreciation isn't just mental. Often, our appreciation practices fail. We make lists, repeat affirmations, but we feel the atmosphere. The reason? The mind is not in harmony with the body. While the body remains at its old frequency, the mental intention remains only an illusion. The quantum field and nervous system are characteristic perceptions of parts, not words. When your nervous system is safe, your shoulders are relaxed, your breath is open, your heart rhythm is regulated. That's when appreciation becomes real. But this isn't just an emotion. It's a quantum mechanism that makes possible the reality of a reality that supports you, provides clarity, and allows for expansion. It rewrites your breath, your micro-movement, your space. No forcing, no performance, just parts and harmony. This frequency is naturally achieved in you and the world around you. The power of embodied appreciation. The power of embodied appreciation is supported by neuroscience and psychology. For example, a study at Harvard University showed that breath and heart-focused awareness at home reduces the stress response by activating the vagus nerve and balancing the parasympathetic system. So a breath not only calms you, it also radiates a frequency of harmony and proportion in your space.